All right, we're up and running. So
Nice.
here we are with one of my best friends, Jeremy Vera. He's friend, classmate. Dude, this sky is angelic right now, actually.
I know,
But
it's divine.
yeah, so now we got a bunch of free time. We just graduated from grad school and got our master's in contemplative psychotherapy and Buddhist psychology. And we talk about crazy, heady shit regarding psychotherapy, Western psychology in general, Buddhism. Jeremy's all into archetypal depth psychology, crazy tarot reader. Jeremy, you just want to introduce yourself and what you're into?
You're doing a great job right there, honestly, yeah.
You're into some crazy shit, though.
I am into some crazy shit, yeah.
Crazy Alex Jones
the
conspiracies.
List is too long. I don't know about that.
Don't tell anybody though.
Let's cut that section out.
But
I'd like
so,
the caseload.
Yeah. So now we're trying to both build a private practice. So if you guys need therapy, hit us up. Hit me up directly if you like Jeremy and what he's got to bring. We'll get you in touch. So only if you live in the state of Colorado. But anyways, what I thought
And
we
coaching in every other state.
Yeah, exactly. If you want basically psychotherapy under the guise of coaching, we can do that too anywhere. So hit us up. So what I want to talk about today is what is real? What is real? When we say what is real, what does that mean? What are we talking about, Jeremy?
So, Vervaeke, which I've plugged every time we record.
Who's
so
Vervaeke?
John Vervaeke is the best. You should go look him up. But if you're into cognitive science, psychology, synthesis of neuroscience, spirituality, the best of the modern world, the empirical, scientific kind of modern tradition we're in for discovery, and the traditional spiritual practices, he's the absolute best that I could possibly recommend for
So
synthesizing the two. And so I've listened to Vervaeke talk on this, and I really love his take that real is determined by relativity. So, for example, real is a comparative term
compared to what isn't real.
compared to what isn't real, and it's on a spectrum.
So it's like duality.
Right.
So when you say there is something that is real, you're implying that there is something that is not.
And not necessarily in that dualistic sense of black and white, yes or no, like 1 or 0 is just two options, but a never-ending spectrum of less real, less real, less real, more real, more real, more real, more real in scales, depending on your perspective. And that, so like right over there, right? What's that? That's my shadow on the wall.
Yeah.
It's real in that like it's something that I'm perceiving. You can see it too.
Yeah.
We're sharing this reality. But its existence fully is only relevant on this. The shadow is the light coming and putting an image of this, which is more real to us.
So you're, okay.
My body is
So,
what the shadow is
What
of.
that makes me think of, though, is isn't real sort of an arbitrary label? Like, we could say your shadow is just as real
just
as you.
as real as me.
And it's like, so we're starting to see, for me, real is an arbitrary, empty, made-up term. We can say, I can say my thoughts are not real in the same way that this table is, but that's sort of a reductionist materialist take, right? So, and then, I don't know, the more you get into it, the more you can really ask the question, what do you mean by real? What do you mean by not real? And who decides that, actually? Is there an objective real beyond the mind that is viewing that real thing?
All dharmas are just of the phenomenal world.
So, I
All
mean, I could
appearances. So
keep going with the relevance
if
realization type shit.
If I were to take a Buddhist perspective, I would say I would kind of drop this scaling of real. I would equalize all experience into just phenomena, experience. And I don't think it's as useful to say like more real, less real in the dharmic path in some instances, if I'm to realize what actually real means. But from a usefulness perspective, I think scaling it is more helpful.
Well,
If you want to live in the world,
Yeah.
then I'm thinking of realness, and this is no longer Viveki. This
Yeah.
is like my 2 cents.
Fucking spit it, bro.
But realness depends on substance and impact.
For sure. Like, okay, that's where I was going with it. So from a very deep existential level, I think Buddha Dharma fucking nailed it. I think, okay, real, anytime there's experience, it's equally real and equally fabricated and made up. Okay, at the deepest level, I'm with that. But at the same time, my life, the quality of my experience is dependent on what I believe to be real and what I believe is not.
Right.
Because like I can have an absolutely shitty day if I believe all these fucked up thoughts in my head. Oh, I'm a failure. I'll never have enough. Life is scary. If I believe those made up thoughts and that's real for me, my life fucking blows. Versus if I tend to put my awareness on other things, like, oh, it's gonna work out. It's all okay. Maybe feed, nourish the view that maybe I am divine, sacred. Maybe death isn't what we think it is. If I start to feed those realities, right, it impacts my experience. So again, at the level of, pleasant or unpleasant experience, I think we have to address what are we giving the power of our belief to, right?
100%.
And the question is, I think we're both on the same page as this. Reality is malleable. It's fluid. I think in the modern materialistic sense, many people, most I would say, believe that there is an objective world that we're all experiencing. It's all the same place. And you could say our sense of the world, it's almost so obvious that it's hard to see, but it changes day by day. When I'm happy, when I'm stoked on life, I just, got a raise, got a new job, got a new girlfriend, things look pretty good. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, things go sideways, my dopamine is down, I haven't been to the gym in a week, and all of a sudden life is looking pretty fucking dark. So the question is, which way is the real way that things are?
Yeah, I like the way you're taking it into thought-based, perspective-based reality, which is already way less tangible, like a thought, a narrative, than where we started, which is physical phenomena.
Materialist.
It's like a whole scientific exploration that, depending on where you take that, is not necessarily practically useful.
Yeah.
It's like, how real is this table compared to my skin?
Yeah.
It's interesting, and it's not as useful as thinking, how real is this story I'm saying, like what you're bringing in.
And that's the thing. So that's like my whole take on this is we tend to view thoughts and, emotions of mind as kind of a little bit less real than matter, right? We've been convinced of that narrative. But the more you examine that story, like, where is the separation between my conceptual mind and the world I experience? So if I experience let's go back in time to like 10,000 years ago. Human beings are running around, and what is thunder to them? What is it? Is it particles in the air grinding together and creating electrical charge? No, I really doubt that they understood that the way that we do now. So what is thunder and lightning? Maybe God is fucking pissed, and maybe he's gonna legitimately zap me. Maybe I have to cut out a human heart to appease him. So okay, based on that view, that's real to them. That conceptual understanding is now projected onto our experience of thunder. And
so what's the line here, if there is one, between what we're talking about, real versus true?
what define both?
Well, that's what I'm asking. So, speaking of headiness,
this is completely valid, though.
Yeah, and I think there's a synonym is valid. That's what we're talking about in the overlap. I don't think real and true necessarily are the same things that we could be talking about. The way that I was thinking real at the beginning is like, what is actual? What is existent, right?
What is existent beyond the mind?
Right. And then what is true holds more to these
Like
stories
deep,
and
ultimate truth.
beliefs. So beliefs are about reality.
Yeah.
These are like personal subjective standpoints. And that, to me, dictates what we perceive as true.
So yes,
or perceive as real, right? What we believe is true dictates what we perceive as real.
Yes.
So like, and we don't even know how these things are interconnected in ways like if I perceive or if I believe, and this is like on a deep level below what I'm even conscious of most of the time. If I believe God is real, forget about what God actually means in this case.
Right.
Then what I see as real changes. This is like salience and relevance, right? Relevance realization.
Define salience and relevance.
So salience is what stands out to us in a nutshell, and relevance is what is important and relevant to what is important to a specific context. That's what defines relevance is context, and context, which we're talking about here, has a lot to do with unconscious beliefs.
Yeah.
Right. So, once again, God is real versus God is not real. This changes the entire way you perceive everything in reality.
And totally, just even hearing you say that, the whole bit on salience and relevance, I'm looking at this absolutely gorgeous sun over these clouds right now, and I was thinking, I could hold the view, oh, this is just an evening, it's a beautiful evening, yeah. And I could give the message, oh, we are being blessed with this recording right now. This is an absolutely gorgeous sight. And maybe something divine is taking notice, is giving us its blessing. And the question is, which story is real? Which one's imagined? Maybe the one that, oh, this is just a beautiful evening. Yeah, that's valid. But maybe that's actually also limited and limiting to the depth of experience we can open up to when we start to embrace more divine, you could say enchanted, ways of perceiving this. So again, what's real and what's true, right? So this opens up quite a bit. And this brings us to, shunyata, emptiness in Buddhism. There is no one way that things are. They're interpreted in infinite different various ways. And the question, and when you really understand the depth of the emptiness of everything, no matter what view you hold, you can say they're all empty. And you can say that some lead to deep, meaningful, poetic experiences, and some lead to kind of a flat, kind of experience, right? So bringing it back to what is true and real, I think my understanding of the emptiness of any phenomenal experience has impacted my question of what is real. Understanding the role that perception and consciousness has on impacting experience. The question has shifted from what is real to what is useful. Not even just useful, but again, what do you want? And for me, it's deep meaning, resonance. I want messages, I want beauty, I want a connection to source that I feel in my bones, that I don't need to prove to anybody. And experiences like that, just like every other experience, are co-creation. It's, experiences here, sure, we can say that at one level, and then at another level we can say we're interpreting that. So, and where is that line? What's really real? To ask that question with like a certain level of insistence, to me seems like a denial of emptiness, actually. It's like we're, it comes down to definitions, really. And this is where words start to get a little bit tricky and heady, but how do you feel about that?
I have so many thoughts. I'm actually struggling with which direction to take it in.
Bro.
It's like multiple choice. You should like choose your own adventure.
Lay them out, bro. What kind of...
So one thing, I'm going to follow the one that's standing out to me the most in my head. But how do you reconcile, say, a realization of emptiness with, okay, so let me give some context. I have an assumption which is based on partial firsthand experience and partial guesswork. My assumption is that emptiness reduces, like deep realization of emptiness, the lack of true real narratives to anything, reduces realness across the board for everything. Right?
When you say reduces realness,
like inherent substance in everything,
substance.
Right? So it loosens
inherent
the grip.
substance.
It loosens the grip of like, this is how things are, right?
Yes, inherently objectively. Yep.
But things still pop out to us. Things still click with us as real, even if we don't internally, even when I don't believe that something is truly real, it still matters to me.
Yes.
So this is like an interesting, how do you reconcile these?
I mean, let's put it like this way. If everything is empty, that can be difficult to apply to something as deeply meaningful as love. At first, until I think there's a maturation of the understanding of emptiness where absolutely all experience is empty. That does not mean you don't experience deep, intense, poetic, tear-jerking purpose and meaningfulness. It just means you see through it. As, again, it's not inherently there. It's not just, I just arrived and I'm looking around the world. I'm like, oh, this is how it is. It's more like, oh, I recognize the co-created nature of any experience that could ever be.
Yeah.
Nothing is separate from the mind that views it. The world's your oyster. Act accordingly. And for me, this is where it's like you start to enter a place of unbelievably radical responsibility for your own experience. If I'm a victim, if I'm a winner, or I'm a loser, who decides that? If I am just a human being and death is an absolute annihilation of everything that I am, that's your story. My question is, what makes it more valid than any other?
So here's a question. How do you personally experience and work with your story while you still hold emptiness?
So this is where this has been my edge recently, to apply emptiness into this. I mean, Rob Berbea would say this is what he calls soul making. You're an active participant in the creation of the myth of your life. I mean, you could throw in some Joseph Campbell depth psychology stuff here too, but the myth of your life with no limits. Emptiness gives you absolute, ultimate permission to go anywhere, knowing that it's all empty. So what do you really want? And sure, I don't want to have some absolutely crazy, unrelatable story, but I want to touch into deep meaningfulness and purpose. So for me, let's give an example. So I just broke up with my girlfriend. That could be interpreted, again, infinite different ways. What does it say about me? Is that my attachment style? Am I just a wounded individual? Okay, that is one lens, that psychotherapeutic attachment lens. Oh, I'm just avoidant. I'm just destined to be fucked. My mom never loved me in the way that I needed, so now I'm just doomed to repeat this. Repeat these cycles of, heartbreak. But let's just throw in a depth psychology angle, which is, oh, maybe spirit, God, your soul, anima, wants something from you. And actually, this wound is a necessary occurrence. This attachment wound is absolutely necessary for you to serve your function in this world.
Like acorn theory.
Like acorn theory from James Hillman. And then we can attach, again, the Buddhist view of emptiness, which is there is no objective way to interpret this. How do you feel in your soul? And for me, I mean, I could interpret this like, I tried my best. It's not what I need right now. Again, I'm being called elsewhere. So I can start to have a sort of flat approach, you could say, which is like, again, me at the level of the separate ego, the separate self. It's not what I needed. The separate self, this ego, is also a fabricated notion, idea. We can move beyond that to spirit is trying to live a different myth through me. There's something, there's a different path that I'm meant to walk for reasons unknown. And maybe it just wasn't meant to work. And can I have faith in unseen beings, forces, creation, the cosmos, recognizing it's not just reduced matter and random particles, that there is an intelligence behind everything that is happening here. There's an intelligence behind every word coming out of your mouth. There's an intelligence behind every way that you move your body. Recognizing that, how can I reject the fact that that relationship didn't work? How can I say it was wrong? Again, practicing that, I say, thank you. Thank you. And yes, it hurts. And yes, it hurts, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And opening to the experience of grief like that, again, you don't bypass that difficult experience of grief. Like, I was crying at work today about, like, damn, I really miss her. And yeah, she's not coming back. And I don't go around that grief, but I'm able to open to it as like poetry. Poetry is that real or made up? Who gives a fuck? It hits you in the soul.
That's interesting.
You know what
that
I mean?
Poetry, yeah, because that's what they say. What what a lot of the big wigs, which we're both interested in, would say about myth is that it's truer than, and to bring it back to the original point, it's truer than factual true, even though it's not factually true.
Plato
it's
talked
realer,
about this.
Right, it's realer than what's physically real.
Yeah.
And so that's very relevant. And
Yep.
it's a weird contradiction between matter, like atoms, matter, the noun, and matter, the description, like this matters to me.
Whoa. Interesting. Never thought of that. Matter. What is real? What appears to be solid?
Right.
Whoa.
And when we take this objective world to be matter, actually it seems like things mattered less.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an interesting.
Yeah.
And yet what is actually mattering to us is the most real and true.
Interesting. I mean, I could take this into a dependent arising kind of place. I don't know if I want to go there right now because I like the more poetic, less coding of experience angle we're at right now. But
at some point we're gonna have to do like pause the video here and
Yeah.
press X to
Pick your
watch a whole
adventure.
separate
Yeah.
podcast about this topic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure though. That would be really cool. Maybe AI will figure out a way to do that.
I'm
But
sure it will.
but yeah, no. So I mean, so what? Again, this goes into relevance realization. What is relevant to us? If it's making money and smashing juicy cheeks, if that's all that it is, that's all you're gonna see. And that's all. Again, it's like.
It's true.
If you elevate your
These
mind,
things
the
now
world
stand out as more real than everything else in the
and
world.
that's what your awareness will fixate on and notice more. Whereas if I elevate what I want, what's the saying? Show me what you want, and I'll show you who you are. So, if you change what you want, I want to talk to God, and I won't take no for a fucking answer. Great, here he is.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll hear him.
And that's the thing. This goes into maybe the depth that the mind plays in the construction of everything we experience, and not even from a Buddhist angle, which is my favorite at this point, but like let's look at any limitation we've ever had, ever. So look at your own life. Look at anyone's life, really. Anything that's ever been done has had to have started with some sort of notion that it's possible. Going to the moon, making whatever electric cars, I don't know, building the atom bomb. Good or bad, we create the limits and we create the lack thereof. And my question is, again, when we're not looking at this from a materialistic lens, does consciousness just pull this stuff out of the ether? And it's like a video game. It's like you're going through Skyrim and the world illuminates itself as you explore it. So if we look for atoms and particles and the quarks and whatever the fuck, we find them. And if we look for God, we find that.
Yeah,
and if we look for an
Schrodinger's
atom bomb,
cat.
we find that. Interesting is the and how could it's? I mean, this is an impossible theory to test, probably. I don't know about impossible, but I mean, again, where is your intention and where are the limits? How
I think
successful?
they have tested this. That's what's
Really?
Schrodinger's cat, right?
Explain
whether
that
the cat-
experiment.
So famous experiment that kind of launched quantum physics or into the popular public sphere of consciousness is cat is bombarded by some like fatal particles in a box.
Fatal, like legitimately
not
fatal.
visible to the human eye. Is the cat dead or alive inside the box?
Probably
when
dead,
you open
right?
it, depending on the observer's opinion and idea before it's opened.
Bro, right? So this is saying that actually consciousness and awareness has a role to play on events.
Yeah, and before it's opened, it's both. Yeah,
Dude, so-
and like
yeah.
I'm not nearly smart enough to explain that, other than the fact that go look it up and you'll see that it's proven.
Yeah.
Very well proven.
You might be
minds.
smart enough,
Mine's far smarter than mine, but yeah. The point being that this has been here for decades.
Totally.
This is maybe 60s or 70s. So like yeah, the reality of something is dependent on our perspective looking at it. Observed requires observer, but how the observer is also impacts.
Yeah. So how directly are they linked, actually? The observer and the observed.
Inextricably, apparently. I mean,
So-
if, like what you're saying, where were the atoms before we looked for them? Maybe not there.
Bro,
Probably not
That's
there.
what I'm saying.
Probably
So,
not there. I'm not.
You can never say
I
that.
can't say
you,
for
you
sure
can never.
either.
This is where we go into the place of real mystery and inexplicability.
Yeah.
Can your mind fucking cope with something that it can't be 100% certain on?
So here's an
Which is actually
interesting,
not even possible. 100%
maybe moral
certainty.
grounding to this, because this is just fun to talk about, but maybe there's a useful conversation that needs to be had, which is through emptiness, there's a deep risk of nihilism, and also here's a contemplation that I don't have the answer to, because I know that emptiness is true, that what we've already said applies. How does an entire world take this on in a non-dangerous way? I'm thinking of a grounded example. Everyone's saying, well, that's your truth, right? So it's all good. It's not my truth, and that allows for both to coexist. That's a positive side to it. What happens when the other person is Hitler? Well, that's his truth, right? Probably not good for, good, right? Once again, this is dangerous territory, because if emptiness is true, which it is, then how do we not let the world destroy itself, because that's their truth to nuke the entire planet? I don't like that truth, and I think most people wouldn't.
Well,
So where does this go?
Interesting. So I think in that point we have to give. Interesting. What it makes me think of is the role in ethics, which I think is a completely underrated, completely not talked about subject in the modern world, actually. People don't give a fuck about ethics. No one talks about it. When it's like, when you look back on your life and you determine what makes a life well lived, oh, I made a lot of money, I smashed juicy cheeks, what else other, Ooga Booga folks want, whatever, cool. But like, a life lived in alignment with your values and ethics is absolutely fucking priceless, and no one can take that from you. No matter how successful you were, that is something priceless, and people forget that. And I think what it also made me think of is trust and faith in something beyond separate egos, something beyond material, separate illusions of self, to the, universe, the oneness of everything here, recognizing consciousness.
Isn't that so interesting? Universe, one word.
Yeah. Ooh.
Literally what it means.
One line, baby. And that's the thing. That's all of us. So can we have faith? And it reminds me. That brings me to the Tao Te Ching verse.
I knew you were gonna go there.
My man, you read my mind, or you planted that shit in my fucking brain. Trust some, and they will become trustworthy. Interesting. Can we trust creation, and all of a sudden it becomes trustworthy?
So here's an interesting thing, because I love that. Trust someone and you become trustworthy. This is not. When I pose the question, there's almost a question of like, how does the world cope with individual independent differences? This is in thought and belief, which is not really an emotional question, right? But when you say trust someone and they become trustworthy, this is bringing it back to observer and observed. It's not just about emptiness, it's actually about compassion, warmth, love.
Totally.
Filling the empty space with some intention that is positively lifting everyone up.
Bro,
and that requires everyone.
Yes. Give me some nuts, bro. This is fucking heat right now. So, that reminds me of, the Buddha said the two wings of enlightenment are wisdom, wisdom into emptiness, and compassion and warmth. Compassion. So, again, emptiness, when it comes down to it, everything is empty, right? So then, anytime there's any experience, there is going to be fabrication. So the question, then we have to choose consciously the fabrication that makes this place nice, that makes this place deep, meaningful, worth living in. And that's where that compassion is. Imagine if everyone, there's a Buddha quote too, if everyone knew the value of compassion, they wouldn't let one meal pass without giving some food away. Because again, it's not even about the world. It's about when I give compassionately, my heart opens and life gets easier. It's a paradox. So many people are caught in this loop of selfishness where I feel like I don't have enough, so I need to collect, hoard material, more money for me. And little do you know, you're just closing your heart and you're making yourself, you're feeding that sense of scarcity.
Right.
And
how about tribalism in today's world? I see half of the other political side as demons.
Yeah.
Maybe it's even worse than they fill that role. Okay, so from a psychological perspective, if I treat you like an asshole, the way that you said treat someone as trustworthy, they'll be that way.
Yeah.
Right? If I treat you like an asshole, it's not like I'm even metaphysically altering reality, though that seems possible based on the cat experiment. It's also just enactments and roles, right? It's like, if I remind you of someone who's once treated you that way, you're more likely to unconsciously take the countertransference role and counteract my role. You're gonna be the yin to my yang.
Yep.
If I'm the yang, you gotta be the yin, unless you have willpower. And I lost my train of thought a little bit here.
No. I love I like that you brought in the psychotherapeutic, because I think again that we shouldn't disregard the psychotherapeutic, and I think the future is merging the psychological with the spiritual rapidly. I mean, this was Jung's prediction, and it's coming to fruition.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes me think again. So if again, going back to the attachment style example, if I'm an avoidant attachment, then I mean, depending on my partner, that kind of will tend to cause my other partner to be anxious attachment.
Right, exactly.
So we fill roles. I can say that I've been both in my life. I've been anxiously attached and avoidant attachment style. It depends on my partner. It depends on the conditions.
Yeah, and your partner depends on you in that. And like, and going back to the, if I see 50% of the country as demonic, they might just become that way in response to how I perceive them. When, and this is getting like a tough to swallow pills meme, like hard to swallow pill of the day. Maybe we are creating the demons.
That's what I'm saying, bro. So it's like,
and that's not to say that you should agree with people's perspectives. That like debate is how, in my opinion, debate is how truth actually gets formed. So how can we fundamentally disagree with people, and not pull away our love?
So this is where I think the human mind is going through this deep transformation as far as holding completely paradoxical truths. I hate what this person stands for. I hate how they act. I'm gonna love them regardless.
Would I still hold a seat for them at my table and offer them food if they were hungry?
Right.
And I sure hope so.
And that's right. I mean, and that's the thing. I think a lot of these insights are going to come together simultaneously with AI, as far as also things with like the telepathy tapes and legitimately proving extrasensory perception. These nonverbal autists have been shown to be 95% accurate in reading the minds of their teachers and parents. Wow. Okay, 95%. That's not crazy. Statistical significance. That's they barely miss. Okay, so that's just telepathy. There's also, they said there's like a nonverbal autist who can put his hand on a book and basically say what it was about. What? So they talk about like tuning into a certain frequency where you can tune into anyone around the world and read the thoughts of them. And this also opens the door as far as understanding the shared collective field that we're all a part of, that maybe the human mind has forgotten how to access. And these nonverbal autists are essentially savants in this very internal experience of the universal oneness.
When I think of language, I'm thinking nonverbal, right? Language is coarse, but it's also serving a purpose of classifying and therefore making things complex and like very finely distinct, right?
It's solidified, right?
Yeah, and I think of this Andrew Holacek teaching, empty of self, full of other.
Totally.
If you're empty of self, right, and you're not distinguishing, I'm bringing this back to, if I'm nonverbal, I'm less complexifying reality. I'm making space for all experience. And that maybe allows it to flow through me.
And that makes a lot of sense. Some of these nonverbal autistic folks like have spoken that they didn't even know they had a body until their like parents were like squeezing their hands.
So empty of self that they're the limit doesn't exist for what they can be full of.
Right. And it's again opening up the realm of when we're not living through words and verbal labels, nothing is hidden. Let's put it like that. So any secret you've had may be coming up rapidly. What is done in the dark will be brought to the light. The second coming is on the way, and you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm just saying, and like
drops the mic.
But bro, I'm just saying, like we're coming to this place where lies are impossible, truth is known. And it's beyond the conceptual mind, which works predominantly with labels and words. So what happens when we work with something a little bit deeper than that? The gnosis of this place. And again, my question is, how fluid is even the physical laws of the universe? To what degree is consciousness affecting that? And it because all we can study is, right here and right now in this point in time, is basically, that's all we can study. How do we know a billion years? Again, time is kind of arbitrary in a certain sense, empty, but a certain amount of time ago, how do we know the laws were the same as they are now?
It's a good question. And how do we know that our perception and belief about what those laws might have been back then doesn't actually alter those?
That's what I'm saying.
Too.
So,
I mean,
bro,
Jeremy.exe is crashing. My brain can't handle this. Yeah, what we believe about what other people believed about time might impact how they believed about it.
Bro.
And then we're talking about past, present, future, which impacts which.
Dog, I was just listening to this thing on the telepathy tapes. I think it was like episode 9 of the talks part afterwards, but this guy, Adam Curry, is talking about they have a random number generator that creates ones and zeros at a 50% rate, 50% ones, 50% zeros. And they found that intention can actually alter that 50% ratio, human intention. So they actually also looked at this through time. So they recorded the random number generator, and 3 weeks later, they had someone set an intention for that set of numbers, and they found when they had an intention on that set of numbers recorded in the past, it was statistically significantly different than when they didn't have the intention on it, saying that consciousness can affect what we have recorded in the past.
So all the 22-year-old life coaches saying manifest lotto are right.
Bro, I'm just saying.
All right.
And they're going to be fucking millionaires. That's what I'm saying. I mean, your boy,
There is
ideally.
enough money for everyone. Cool.
Exactly.
Just create it
When we
with
say
your mind.
so, unless we're living in scarcity, and all of a sudden there's not enough. And so I want to bring this. First, I want to take a deep breath, because Jesus Christ, this is amazing. This is
wild.
a banger, bro. This is heat.
Nice.
This is probably the best
This is
talk I've had in quite a while.
Yep.
But yeah, this is mushroom tea, not the fun kind though. This is like it's like lion's mane, like mushroom wellness tea. So I'm like, maybe this lion's mane is hitting me in the brain, bro.
Generating the brain cells.
But it makes me think again. So the depth of consciousness creating experience or limiting experience too, or opening it up, it brings me to miraculous events like Jesus walking on water, levitating saints across various traditions, miraculous healings. Are those possible only under a certain set of psychic conditions of allowance and openness, where, hey, maybe it's possible. I believe in miracles, and all of a sudden, and so it is, they're actually possible. Whereas in this place, only matter is real. People can't levitate. Walking on water, I don't know. And it's like, well, if you think like that, you're God, you're the creator. You are the creator, and so it is. No one can walk on water. Interesting. Like you were talking about when you went to bed, they would talk about the masters levitating from monastery to monastery in front of the students. Is that a myth? Are they full of shit?
Right.
Or is that coming from this contracted, limiting Western mind? And over there, it's much more expansive, and all of a sudden, what's possible? Oh, walk through walls, levitate from mountain to mountain. I'm just saying, we don't know. This is what really interests me. Do you know what I mean?
The miracle question has been on my mind quite a bit lately.
Anything is possible. How deeply do you have faith in the miraculous powers of creation and yourself? If you want to take the ego path, or can we move beyond that collectively? Or, I mean, does it really matter? Can we hold both? These are the questions.
These are the questions.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that seems like a good place to stop. It seems to have hit a conclusion all at once.
Let it percolate, let it digest.
So, I mean, that was kind of a banger.
That was great.
If you like this podcast, throw some comments down there. Follow me on Instagram at DuffDaddy100.
Can definitely continue this conversation. I think this deserves a second episode.
Oh, dude, I mean, I think we should just keep making these podcasts, to be honest. I'm curious what these people think. I mean,
this topic specifically deserves a second episode.
Let's just start off at miracles.
Miracles.
What are miracles?
Yeah.
I mean, what is real and
the
what
link
is
in the
miracles?
corner. It doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, no link in the corner.
But now it does because I'm.
I mean, I don't know how to put a link in the corner. I guess I could look it up. But anyway, this is Jeremy, the GOAT. And if you need some coaching, let us know, because we need money. So we're trying to manifest it. So, all right, bro. Thank you so much. Nice. This was fucking sweet, bro.
Dope.